Good afternoon and welcome to Leeds. This congregation is held in accordance with the Charter, statutes and ordinances of the University for the conferment of degrees. I declare this congregation to be open. So welcome to Leeds, welcome to the University. I'd like to start with a few remarks about the University to those of you who've come to support these young graduates. May have come a long way. Just one or two points out of several score that I could have picked to show what the University, where it stands and what it's doing. It's in the Russell Group, which is the Premier League of British universities. It's steadily forging its way up and doing very well indeed. And British universities, on the world scale, in most areas and by most measures, are the second best in the world after the United States. In medical research, for example, at this university, the medical research faculty is larger than most universities. And it concentrates at the moment to great effect on brain cancer, cardiovascular disease, diabetes and dementia. And it's the only research group in the United Kingdom dedicated to studying the combination of diabetes and heart disease, which is afflicting more than 300 million people in the world and growing. In medical and biological engineering, Leeds is one of the world's 10 top bioengineering research institutes for joint replacement, tissue re-engineering, functional spine intervention, and the aim is 50 active years after 50, which is just in time for me. The university campus is growing all the time. Some of you will know that 2 or 3 years ago they built a new earth sciences building costing about £20 million, and the person who worked substantially there has now gone on alone to Cambridge, where she leads the British Antarctic Exploration, which is a massive enterprise for climate and mineralogy and all sorts of investigations that are being done down there, led by somebody from Leeds. And one of the first things she did was to persuade George Osborne to pay £220 million for yet another boat. I say yet another boat which will take them further and put them in the vanguard of that research. There's a new energy building for about the same price. There's a new law building. There's a new library. And if you want to look around, down there in the Parkinson building, down there on the left, handsome building, you'll see the Brotherton Library and be able to go into it with some astonishing manuscripts, ancient manuscripts. It's the second or third best library in the United Kingdom universities. And there's also an art gallery there, which is more than well worth seeing. Most recently, in this university, they've been given a £10 million grant to study how best to use big data, which is one of the 8 great technologies which could drive the UK. And the research in robotics makes Leeds a leader, especially in robot design and construction. And of course, the engineering faculties, this is the third event we've had with engineering, is one of its greatest faculties and one of its most successful. So I'd now like to turn to the graduates. I suppose when you sort of read about yourselves in the papers, it's more or less a torrent of pessimism interposed with indifference, really. The pessimism is dreadful. There seems to be a notion in the press and in television that the only time to report on young people in this country is when they're doing something wrong or misbehaving or that sort of thing. And you get a completely distorted view. Most people, most students here and elsewhere are responsible, sensible, extraordinarily dedicated, and to be tagged by that is very, very unfair. And also, and more important than that sort of nonsense, is to say a few things about the context in which you have your education here and have your education in this country. To begin where we should begin, with language. We have a global language. came about, was founded really in the 16th century largely by a man called William Tyndale, who wrote or translated the New Testament, developed by Shakespeare and so on, taken over by the British Empire, then by the American Empire. It's a global language. It's a great gift that we have now, and a great gift, you could say, or fact that's gone around the world. And inside that language has flourished in many different ways a culture that is most remarkable. The British Isles, for its size, is the most varied geological place on the planet, the most varied. And similarly, if you look at the cultural achievements of this country over the last, say, 600 or 700 years, we punch way above our weight on a global scale, our size and our weight, again and again and again. Wherever you look, not just great national figures, but world figures in writing, for example. Shakespeare's performed in every country in the world. Goodness knows how many performances of his plays are going on one way or another at this minute. Dickens is read everywhere, and so are many other authors and poets. In painting, there's everyone from Turner to Francis Bacon. Currently the best-selling modern painter, probably the best-selling painter at auction that there's ever been. In science, you don't know where to start, really. From Bacon in Elizabethan times, to Newton, to Faraday, to Darwin, to Tim Berners-Lee, and on it goes and continues to go. That inventive tradition is there, and you're part of that. You can grow from that. And it's everywhere. In philosophy, of the great philosophers, Hume, and so on. And in democracy, in the development of democracy, this country has been key in that. And we should sometimes face up to what we're good at, instead of knocking ourselves for what we're not so good at. Next year we'll be celebrating 800 years of the Magna Carta. Now, that has been taken, the basis of that has been taken by country after country to found a democratic system. By America, by Australia, by India, massive place of India, by New Zealand, by Canada, and on it goes. And also, when Eleanor Roosevelt started the United Nations, she took the Magna Carta as her base. And the idea of the development of democracy, was pushed further and faster with enormous loss in this country and battled through. For example, in the Civil War in the 17th century, in that war, per capita, the head of the population alive at the time, more men died than died in the First World War. It was savage, and in the end, it was an argument about who ruled. A divine king, which Charles I was thought to be, or representatives of the people, who were trying to unseat him, and who, in the end, did something quite extraordinary that had never been done. They tried a divine king in court with a jury and found him guilty and sentenced him to death. And from then on, the Putney debates and so on, the idea of democracy developed, spread to America. That came through what people in this country did and, in many cases, died for. And so it goes on. Engineering, for instance, you don't know where to start. I mean, the world is full of, or was full of, British-built railways, British-built ships, British buildings, engineered to the highest quality by people who are your predecessors. And the fact that it's not being done on that scale now is nothing to do with the will of you, and nothing to do with the intellect of the British students. It's to do with, and it's cross-party here, I'm talking about both parties, the last 30 or 40 years, it's to do with a complete lack of will about building in this country with people like you, or a decade or two older than you, about building infrastructures, this is both parties, which are very much needed. I mean, considering that your ancestors, your predecessors, managed to put railways across a continent the size of India, and we can't put a line from Liverpool to Hull, that's nothing to do with you, it's to do with the fact that the will has gone. And without that, we're in trouble. But we're not in trouble with you. We aren't, because the opportunities will arise. When they arise, you're there to take them. What I found in doing a lot of television programs about great artists over the last 40 years, and it matters that I say this, that they're some of the greatest artists of the time. Many of those are the musicians, whatever, classical, popular, opera composers, writers, dramatists, sculptors, or whatever they are. People of the highest achievement, men and women. There always comes a point, or almost always comes a point, in the conversation where they'll say, there was this teacher, and this teacher triggered their interest, set them off on the path that they followed. And you here have most excellent teachers, and I'm sure, like me, you'll want to applaud them now. Because, in my view, it comes down to teaching and opportunity and will. Will you have the teachers? You will have the opportunities, and it's the will. Look at maybe, not trivial, but not in your league, things like cycling. Not so long ago, cycling was, for most British people, ambling along on a road with a few pals and stopping for a picnic every 10 minutes. And then the idea was that we could be good at it. And they built special buildings for it. And they collected young people who were keen on it. And they drove it through. Leadership, will and opportunity. And what happened? Gold medals were tumbling out of our ears at the last Olympics. And that's a perfect example of leadership, training and opportunity. Another is in the arts. The reason why this country is the only one really to challenge America in films, in theatre, in writing and so on. But think of films and theatre, let's say to that, and acting. It's because we have great acting schools. People go there. They're trained how to do it for several years, like you've been trained here. They're trained how to do it, and so when they get on screen, on stage, on television, they have a huge advantage. The advantage is they've learnt, they've been pushed. They've been taught, as you have here. You're in a remarkable school, the schools of computing and electronic and electrical engineering that's here today. You've had a great year, as you know, but perhaps people who come to support you don't know. Along with collaborators in 3 of the faculties, the school has been awarded 2 multi-million-pound grants that will transform Leeds research in medical, bioinformatics and robotics. You may have seen the banners around campus celebrating the achievements of some of the university's alumni. Among them is Colin Needham, who graduated in computer science here in 1988. You may not have heard of him, but you may have used the website which he set up, based on what he learned here. Colin channeled his passion for the movies and his expertise in computing into establishing IMDb, which is now the world's most popular source of movie and TV content. The School of Electronic and Electrical Engineering is among the best in the country and is ranked in the top 10 in all UK league tables. This year, 2 of its leading researchers, Professor Giles Davis and Professor Edmund Linfield, were awarded the Faraday Medal for Experimental Physics in recognition of nearly 2 decades of work on terahertz science and technology, an exciting field that's opening up for the uses of the far infrared region of the electromagnetic spectrum. It's extraordinary what's been achieved, and there's also a feeling that there's far, far further to go. It seems to me, if I may say so, that obviously you've learned your subject. It was very difficult to get in here. It's hard to get into Leeds, and it's difficult to do as well as you've done. And one of the things you've learned is you've learned how to learn. You've got subjects, you know your subjects, but learning that this is the way you tackle knowledge, this is the way you tackle problems, because you probably switch from one thing to another in your lives. You've learned not to be afraid of it. I remember when I started university, a lot of things seemed very hard, and they were hard. 2 or 3 years later, the hard things were quite simple, I thought, because I'd learned how to do it. I'd been taught how to think. And you've been taught how to think. People think thinking's easy. Well, not thinking's easy. Thinking is very difficult. If you say, I'm going to think about something, you usually forget what you're thinking about in about 5 minutes. But concentrating on it, driving through a mass of data, selecting it, organizing it, making it work for you, that's difficult. And you've done that. Again and again, You've done that. And obviously by being here, you're talented. And also by being here, something else has happened, which doesn't happen all over the world in universities by any means. You've had a fuller life than most people have in universities. I'm sure that you've got friends, some of whom you've made for life. You'll have done other activities here, whether it's games or whatever it is, other things, which will be very, very, oddly enough, they might be the most useful things you've done. Not the best, but the useful. When people are pushing forward in things, it's often the things that they've done by accident, or the things they picked up for themselves, that help to take them, that extra yard or two, which is the most important yard or two to take. We're a fingerprint society. We're a fingerprint species, I mean. Each one of you is different. Each one of you has a different potential. And if you can realize that potential, it is world-changing, and it'll change you. And why I emphasize hard is this. The nice thing about giving advice is that it's the easiest thing in the world to ignore, so here we go. I think you should be as ambitious as you possibly can be at this stage. As ambitious as you can be. You're really well trained. You know about hard, you know how to tackle it. And try. Remember the quotation from Samuel Beckett, who wrote Godot. Try, he wrote. Fail. Try again. Fail better. And that, I think, will take you such a long way. I wanted to say two things in conclusion. One is from Shakespeare, the speech that Polonius gives to Laertes as Laertes is about to go to the University of Wittenberg in Hamlet. And he says many things in that speech which are interesting, but one line says, "To thine own self be true." Now you can interpret that in different ways. But one way is that the uniqueness of yourself is what's going to make your life so much more worth living than anything else. Remember what you want. Follow your own ambition and instincts, because you're clever enough. The stabilizers of knowledge are there. So that's one thing. And the other, I've been interested in the last week or two in a man called Thomas Paine, who wrote 3 great books of political commentary, Common Sense, The Age of Reason, and The Rights of Man, which sold more than the Bible, all of them. And he's an extraordinary man. He went to America to help the Americans in the War of Independence and fought against the British. He went to France to help them in their revolution, was in the French Parliament, and when he came here, stirred things up so much that he was sentenced to death and just missed it. He wrote wonderfully about mankind. And one of the things he said was this: we have it in us, we have it in our power to begin the world over again. So you do. You really do. So good luck. Thank you. I call upon the University Secretary.
The degree of Doctor of Philosophy to be presented first by Dr. David Duke, Head of the School of Computing.
Chancellor, I present to you for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Democles Despotakis. Trien van Do. Tommaso de Odorico. Timothy Andrew Fuzz. Ian John Hales. Zulkifli Maud Zaki.
and Richard Edward Kavanagh. And to be presented now by Professor Ian Robertson, Head of the School of Electronic and Electrical Engineering.
Chancellor, I present to you for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Farid Hussein Al-Haflo. Jonathan David Cooper. Robert Michael Joyce. Razak Mohammed Ali Lee. Divyang Kishore Mistry. Adnan Mukhtar. Anna Maria Popescu. Christopher Russell. And Irene Zakari.
The degree of Master of Science to be presented by Dr. Duke.
Chancellor, I present to you for the degree of Master of Science in Artificial Intelligence, David Adefi Organsadi.
The degree of Master of Engineering and Bachelor of Science, again to be presented by Dr. Duke.
Chancellor, I present to you for the degree of Master of Engineering and Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, Darren James Mitchell.
The degree of Master of Engineering and Bachelor of Engineering to be presented by Professor Robertson.
Chancellor, I present to you for the degree of Master of Engineering and Bachelor of Engineering in Electronic Engineering, Lawrence Bird. Adam Roland Clarkson. Oliver David Peel. In Electronic Engineering Industrial, Ben Constable. In Electronic Engineering International, James Daniel York. In Electronic and Communications Engineering, Nikita Ganesh Armin. Vishal Gupta. Hawa Musa Lewan. Craig Metcalf. Benjamin John Miller. Daniel Drani Okchichi. James Stephen Parrish. Esther Swee. In Electronic and Electrical Engineering, Alexandros Andreou. Thomas Michael Carpenter. Bofan Feng. Charles Madinga. Andreas Papageorgiou. Andreas Soma. Ephraim Terefe. In Electronic and Electrical Engineering Industrial, Akintomide Akinwumi Adesanmi. In Mechatronics and Robotics, Nicholas Richard Fry. Ashwin Sadananthan. Ashley James Wiggins.
The degree of Bachelor of Science to be presented first by Dr. Duke.
Chancellor, I present to you for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Artificial Intelligence, Pavel Klakansky. Anthony Richard Layton. In Computer Science, Hela Al-Assam. Ivan Adelinov Atanasov. Henry James Stephen Chase. Thomas Rhodes Collette. Richard Anthony Davey. Hannah Ray Henry. Emma Elizabeth Higgs. Parneet Kaur Hunjan. Antonis Ikosipentakis. Nicholas Ashley Marr. David Peter Monaghan. Amaveer Singh Sandhu. Oliver David Skidmore. Artur Smolko. Alexander Joseph Trelaw. Sofia Asileva Vasileva. Jonathan Zake. In Computer Science Industrial, Carl Stephen Baker. Andrew Robert Campbell. Jevgenyis Kriskovs. Ashley John Ingram. Ryan Philip Kirkbride. Alexis Lukens. Andrew Daniel Rory Munro. Connor Raymond Sloan. Donald White. In Computer Science with Mathematics, Rhys Wykett Banbury. James Anthony Hall. In Computing for Business Industrial, Jacob Miaka. In Information Technology, Abigail J. Bastow. Joshua William Berry. Joel Anthony Bywater. Alistair Jonathan Nicholas Clark. Malcolm Antoine Dow. Levi James Davico. Charlotte Victoria Deacon. Joseph Aladino Fazani. Matthew Joseph Hughes. Daniel Mark Johnson. Timothy James Cormornick. Irene Stadiani Lavada. Catherine Ann Lum. Richard James Matthews. Daniel James May. Clyde Muka. Nekemia Nyenga. Sue Flame. Laura Elizabeth Quinn. Stephen Quinn. Anthony Patrick Smith. Aldi Sugianto. Joshim Udin. Adrian Karchun Wan. Josephine Shu Tin Wong. In Information Technology Industrial, Sean Holden. Adam Sean Minette. Joseph Edward Plum. Claire Jane Sinker.
And to be presented now by Professor Robertson.
Chancellor, I present to you for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Music, Multimedia and Electronics, Helena Charlotte Bisbee. Adam James Cooper. Stephen Glyn James. Alec Robertson. In Music, Multimedia and Electronics, Industrial, Callum James Proctor. Jake Miles Robinson.
And the degree of Bachelor of Engineering, also to be presented by Professor Robertson.
Chancellor, I present to you for the degree of Bachelor of Engineering in Electronic Engineering, Ammar Shihabuddin Albati. Christopher David Jackson. Bada Essa Malala. Li Yang Pan. In Electronic and Communications Engineering, Olabisi Adebayo Adekili. Taha El Mabruk. In Electronic and Communications Engineering Industrial, Adam Toth. In Electronic and Electrical Engineering, Alawi Alatas. Abdullah Yusuf Al-Kubayzi. Abdul Rahman Mohammed Al-Modadi. Ruitao Chen. Alia Hajia. Hafed Khalil. Xiaoji Li. Vilian Lim. Despina Policarpou. Zeyun Shi. Quan Sheng Wang. Husan Zafar. Abdul Magid Atik Zanati. In Electronics and Nanotechnology, Nesma Al-Sheikhli. In Mechatronics and Robotics, Nur Sabika Haji Rosli. Jun Wai Kao. Shin Niu. Ewangku Mohammed Safwan bin Pengiran Mahari. And Fiona Siu Ying Shim.
Thank you all very much. There's only one thing left that I'd like to do, which is to ask the new graduates all to stand, please. That's right. Didn't need saying. That's our thanks from all of us to all of you, and good luck. I declare this congregation to be closed.